Hello everybody, Megazard X here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video. And for today, you know what, I've been putting a lot of time into Persona 3 Reload. I already had an unboxing on the channel, I already had a launch day stream and stuff like that, and gave out some raw thoughts on the game already in one of my previous podcast episodes. But for today, I just want to kind of go through and give my overall impressions on the game. Now I'm roughly about 21 hours into the game, and I know it takes like roughly about 70 to 80-ish hours to beat this game, so I feel like I'm good enough of a ways up in this game to where I can really kind of give my thoughts up on this game because man, I love the Persona series right here, and you know, Persona 3 Reload has been nothing but a blast though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. So Persona 3 Reload. Now this is technically the game that's technically a remake of the original vanilla Persona 3. Now for those that are familiar with the Persona 3 lineage of game, you know, there's several different games up in there. You have the vanilla Persona 3, you have Fez, which is equivalent to like your Persona 4 Golden or Persona 5 Royal, then you have Persona 3 Portable, and you know, there's some strengths and weaknesses for each one of these games. Like I know with Portable, you can control the party members and you had the female protagonist though with some exclusive music and that. However, with that one particular game, unfortunately, you know, you're not able to actually explore out in the world and see, you know, like the big bustling city areas and stuff like that where you're able to free roam and stuff. That's kind of relegated to the vanilla and the Fez version. However, with Fez version, you have that extra little bit of content that's not in the portable or the vanilla version though, but you don't have the controllable party members, so you kind of give and take a lot of, you know, with these different versions though. But at least with Reload, when you look at this game though, it took a little bit of almost everything. Obviously you don't have the female protagonist or that exclusive bit of music though, but it took some minor elements from Fez. Who knows, we might get some Fez content in the future with DLC though. But honestly, they reworked some of the social elements and stuff like that. You don't have to do like forced relationship whenever you get your social links high enough. Like it doesn't force you to have to date certain characters though, so they did do some quality of life things as well, made Tartarus a little bit more manageable and stuff like that though. But honestly, there's a lot of good improvements, at least with Persona 3 Reload. And looking at the Persona series as a whole, I already had experience with Persona 5 Royal. That was my introduction for the series though. So whenever Atlus came out and say, hey, we're doing a remake on Persona 3, I was like, sign me up. So looking at the Persona series overall as a whole, I started off my adventure with Persona 5 Royal, or I did some spin-offs with 5 and, you know, Persona 5 Strikers and stuff like that though. I was enthusiastic when they came out and say, we're gonna remake Persona 3. And I knew, you know, there so many different versions and stuff like that. But I feel like, you know, with all the quality of life stuff they did up in this version, I think it was definitely warranted, you know, just to say that this could be almost the definitive edition. Almost. You're still missing that Fez content. Hopefully Atlus will give that stuff to us in the future though. But you know, with Persona series is a little bit different from the main core Shin Megami Tensei series though, because you know, when you're looking at this game, there's two big heavy elements. You have the social elements, and then you have the fighting and the combat stuff within Tartarus though. We'll get with the combat stuff a little later on in the video though. But at least looking at the social elements and stuff like that, you know, just playing through this game, I just felt right at home with all of this stuff. Obviously, you're going through this game, you have the main protagonist as you yourself, and then you have other accompanying allies with you that you meet right off the bat pretty early on in the game. You have characters such as Yukari as well as Junpei. You know, between yourself and those two, those are like your original starting 3, but then you're also introduced to Mitsuru as well as Akihiko. Those are your original core 5, and then from there on you start adding, you know, more and more members to your crew until you almost have like a party of 10. Currently where I'm at in the game right now, I have technically 6 party members. Fuko was like the latest introduction to my little group right there though. But honestly, each one of these characters, they definitely have their own personal issues, and you'll learn a little bit more about their issues as you further progress along within the story though, and it allows you to basically resonate with those characters and stuff. And that's one of the things I just really like and admire within the Persona series is you have your crazy combat, which is, you know, stellar, really good for a turn-based RPG though. But then having these relationships and stuff and being able to actually go out, you know, interact with your different characters, not even just those, you know, 5, 6 that I mentioned earlier, but along with your other classmates and schoolmates at school and stuff. There's like a handful of other people that you're also able to interact with and get your social links higher. Even like a old couple over there that own a bookstore and stuff like that. There's a little kid you get to play with on the playground and stuff. And then obviously there's the other high school students, and each one of them have their own issues and stuff they're going through though. But you don't really see games like this nowadays though, and it's something that the Persona series just happens to do really well, at least in my own personal opinion though. So just juggling, school life with also the combat and stuff within the game is, it's just a very nice change of pace, at least within the game. Very unique like this. Now let's go ahead and talk about this combat, because originally when I was going through Tartarus and stuff like that, obviously I was making a lot of ties and parallels between Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Royal. You had like these palaces and stuff, really unique scenarios. You can really only enter them once within a certain set dates from the time that it opens, and then the moment it closes, you can't ever revisit that. And then obviously you had the ongoing mementos and stuff like that, which you have to kind of go back in there and explore, from time to time and stuff like that. However, Persona 3 Reload treats it a little bit differently. You have this whole, your mementos equivalent is basically a place called Tartarus, which literally is the school itself during the dark hour, which is like a 1 hour time period that happens after midnight that not a lot of people are cognizant of, because literally when you start off the game, you're walking through an area and you're experiencing people up in coffins and stuff. You're like, what the actual heck is going on though? And you figure out, hey, there's only certain unique people that are actually able to resist, being unaware of this whole entire dark hour. And certain people, such as like yourself as a protagonist, are able to call upon personas that will allow you to actually fight these shadows and stuff. So yeah, so you're going through your merry band of people, exploring through Tartarus, trying to work your way up through the floors and trying to make your way all the way up to the very top though. So yeah, so you're given like a certain date. The major events is like when the full moons happen. So those are like your unique scenarios that only happen within one day in comparison to something like a palace in Persona 5 Royal where you have like a big block of time to do. So yeah, so you can easily blast through yourself through those floors. There will be a point where you hit a certain floor and it's like, all right, you can't progress any further along in Tartarus, so you have to go back and do your social elements and wait until a full moon where it allows that barricade to basically open up though. But I would say the combat itself is actually really flashy like always. I don't know, this is something about Persona 3. Even when you're going into battle, whenever you either sneak up on an enemy or you run into them, or even if you get ambushed and stuff, just the transitional screens that you get from going from exploring into Tartarus straight up into the battle, it is really stylish and stuff like that. And then obviously it never feels like none of these battles drag on longer than what they intend to do, especially whenever you're just fighting just regular average Joe shadows and stuff like that. Obviously you have to juggle between using your personas and stuff, which have certain different elemental attributes to it, along with using some of your melee weapons just to try to find the weakness within the shadow. That way you can do those one more attacks, and that allows you to stack and stuff. One thing they actually added in the game is like a little bit of a baton pass, if you remember that from Persona 5. They did manage to add that into Persona 3, so if you were to shift around between breaking different weaknesses and rolling over to the next character, it does allow you to kind of strengthen your next attack. So that is a little bit of extra strategy up, and it makes the game a little bit more easier though. And I know within the original Persona 3, Tartarus kind of got a little bit grindy though, but I think with all of the modern quality of life improvements they added up in this game though, it doesn't feel like Tartarus is too much of a drag, at least when you're going through it and stuff like that though. Obviously you do have like a support role character that's equivalent to Futaba. Her name is Fuka up in this one though, and she basically supports the team and stuff like that. You're able to either scan for enemy weaknesses, stuff like that. Every now and then you can have like a little special move that allows you to support the whole entire cast of characters and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that they keep adding to the game. Even when you think you know everything there is to know about the combat, they still manage to add some more stuff up into the mix though. So it's actually, really nice, really refreshing. And to give you all these good tutorials and stuff, so it never feels like you're actually quite lost while you're going through and playing through this game though. But overall, avoiding these shadows, avoiding the Reaper, which do not run into that Reaper or that man will actually wreck you and stuff like that. But yeah, honestly, it does feel like combat is really nice. And this also plays in the fact that the music in this game is just freaking phenomenal. Like you can't make this mess up. Obviously the theme for Persona 3 is hip hop, while you have like Persona 5 was like a little bit on the jazzier side of things, and 4 Golden is like that Scooby-Doo-ish kind of feeling music right there. But with this Persona 3 music, with it being hip-hop, hey, have you seen me? I enjoy myself some good hip-hop. And I don't know, it's just something about that track. Like every time I go into battle and I hear that one thing that goes like baby, 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 bum, 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 hey. Man, I always want to break out and dance every single time I hear hear that theme. I don't know. It's just a combination of that, the fluid animations and stuff, the fact that the battles never, outstayed or welcome and all that stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that's up in this game where it's like, it never feels like a drag, at least for me personally. Now, some people will actually kind of complain about some of the music and stuff like that, how it's not, some of the original soundtracks from the original person that happened to sing it though. But at least for me personally, comparing the two, still find this one pretty enjoyable. So outside of that, the music's phenomenal and stuff like that. And at least for me, I did manage to like and enjoy every little bit of music I managed to go through and explore, whether it be, the music themes within Tartarus, which they've been playing like a few different things, at least from what I'm noticing, and they might add a couple more. And then obviously when you're just going through and exploring the world and stuff like that though. Now, overall, I would say the story is really great. I won't say too much on it outside of that, just the general synopsis of what Persona 3 is all about with the midnight hour and all those full moons and stuff like that though. But it is pretty rewarding. It does take you about 70 to 80-ish hours for you to kind of go through and play through the game. At least with me being 21 hours in and stuff like that, I feel like I've seen a good chunk of it. I'm roughly about 25% of the way through. But I think, once you get past your first 4 full moon scenarios and stuff, that's when the story really starts to pick up, and you're really starting to get really engaged within this game. So overall, I've been thoroughly enjoying my time going through Persona 3 Reload. There's not a lot of games out there that are similar to Persona where you're able to juggle an entire social life, meeting different people, hanging out with people, going out on dates and stuff like that. Like, there's not a lot of games out there that manage to juggle that along with some really good, cool, engaging fights and combat and stuff like that. Fighting against these shadow creatures as well. And then, just being able to juggle life overall as a whole though. There's a lot of different things that you can manage to pull out of this game that could literally apply to almost anybody, because there's going to be a character up in this game, that couple, maybe a few, that you're going to be able to resonate with and be, get really attached to, and you're really going to want to see exactly how that social link plays out though. I don't know, Atlus just really knows their stuff, at least with these games, and that's probably the reason why they don't manage to make a ton of these things, at least from time to time though. Hopefully we'll have that Persona 6 some point here fairly soon, and who knows, I've been hearing some things pick up about a potential Persona 2 remaster or a Persona 4 Golden remake, but I don't think those will happen until we get like very close or shortly after we will get Persona 6 though. But yeah, y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, what all have you thought about the Persona 3 Reload as a whole. And then, even if you're somebody new here to the Persona series though, I still think that Persona 3 is still a good jumping in point. It's not like, you see that number 3, you don't have to necessarily be scared about that. This is just like the Final Fantasy series, where each one of these games, 3, 4, 5, they're all self-contained stories, so you can jump up in here. This game is in a lot of ways a little bit more simpler than it is in Persona 5, so I would say this is probably the better jumping in point before jumping into something like 5 or something, or maybe even 4 Golden though. But honestly, you can't go wrong with any one of these games, and it's a game I just highly recommend, because this game just feels like comfort food, at least at this point though. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this, be sure to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.